poisoned water. When we first pulled into Flint, Michigan the other night, we came behind, well, right here, the municipal building in Flint. There, the National Guard was giving out water. Today, assigned Flint Water Distribution Center. They gave us a case of Ice Mountain, 100% natural spring water. It's made by Nestle. Now, one of the things that a number of people were talking about is that Nestle, which has a plant a couple hours north of here, a bottling plant, is sucking water out of Lake Michigan for free. So today we're going to head north to Mecosta County to the Nestle bottling plant to speak with a group of women who live in the area who have been engaging in a legal battle against Nestle for years. Let's go. I'm Amy Goodman. This is Democracy Now! We're here in Stanwood, Michigan. It's about 3 hours north of Detroit, and it's here that Nestle has its Ice Mountain bottled water plant. We're joined right now by Peggy Case. She is the current president of Michigan Citizens for Water Conservation. Can you talk about this plant, Peggy?
This is where the bottled water is being trucked out from Nestle. It's taking the water from our aquifers and it's shipping it all over the world. So
we're talking about 200 gallons per minute is being sucked out of the aquifer that feeds Lake Michigan?
Yes, the water from this plant is coming from several wells, one in Mecosta and two in Everett, and they are now pumping 218 gallons per minute. Wanted to do 400.
But you stopped them from a decade-long lawsuit.
That's true.
How much do they pay for the 200 gallons of water per minute that they're sucking out of the aquifer that feeds Lake Michigan?
As far as I know, they're paying nothing.
Let's go talk to Michigan Citizens for Water Conservation. Peggy, hi. Very nice to see you. Hi.
I'm Terry Swear.
Oh, hi, Terry.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, hi, Glenna. How are you?
My name is Terry Swear, and I live in Mecosta County, which is probably about 3 hours from Flint, 2.5, 3 hours from Flint, Michigan. I was the original president of Michigan Citizens for Water Conservation that took Nestle to court.
I'm Peggy Case. I live near Traverse City, Michigan. I am about 2 hours away from Mecosta County, north of here. I became president of Michigan Citizens for Water Conservation when Terry retired.
Hi, I'm Glenna Manicky, and I'm on the board of Michigan Citizens for Water Conservation, currently the treasurer.
In 2000, when Nestle came into the area, to Mecosta County, explain what they were coming in to do.
In 2000, we found that Nestle had come to Mecosta County and was meeting with elected officials, and what Nestle was asking for was a place that they would be able to take water, a bottling plant, and selling the water, which they basically, what Nestle did was basically sold the water to us, and it was already our water.
Peggy Case, can you explain what was the water, the body of water they were drawing from?
So the water that Nestle is bottling here and elsewhere in our state is coming from the Great Lakes Basin. It is feeding in here into Deadstream and Cold Creek, then into the Little Muskegon River, that aquifer, and then eventually, ultimately, into Lake Michigan. So it's Great Lakes Basin water. It's part of the commons. It belongs to all of us. And part of the reason that people in Mecosta were pretty upset about it is that the extraction of that water was being taken out of the watershed It was being, the streams were being pumped down to the point where the dead stream looked like a mud hole at one point, and bottled and shipped all over the world.
How is it possible that Nestle, which is making an enormous profit on this water, doesn't actually have to pay for the water it's drawing?
They're drawing the water from a well on private land, for one thing. It would be no different if they came to my house, where I have a well, and asked to use my well to put water in a truck and cart it away. And if I said yes, they have the right to do that.
But this massive public resource, water, we're not talking about feeding a family of 4 or 5. We're talking about 400 gallons per minute around the day, around the month, around the year.
Right. It's criminal.
Why wouldn't there be laws that say when you take this public resource, you have to pay for it, since people are paying for that water, including you if you buy, for example, Ice Mountain?
Well, I don't know why it's legal to do that. They get a permit from the state that allows them to do that. I personally don't believe that we should be doing that with our water. We should not be privatizing the water. That it amounts to privatizing the water.
Terry, take us through this decade-long lawsuit against Nestle.
We began in the circuit court. We had seen what Nestle was proposing to do and decided that we needed to take Nestle to court. That was the only way that Nestle would ever realize that, yes, we did want our water, we wanted to protect our water, and the water was ours, not theirs. This lasted for, like I said before, this lasted for 8 years. And in that time, with lawyer fees and all the fees that come with going to court, we spent over $1 million.
Glenda Manneke, you're the treasurer of Michigan Citizens for Water Conservation. How do you raise this money? It costs like $1 million to take on Nestle?
We scrambled for every penny we could get. We did 50-50 raffles among us, or anybody else we could get into it. We did yard sales. We wrote grants. We had bake sales. Help me out here. Pasties were part of the bake sale.
What are pasties?
Pasties are a meat and vegetable concoction that's kind of localized to Michigan.
And you were able to raise how much through all of this?
We're out of debt now.
We raised $1 million with no corporate money, no government money. At one point, Nestle even offered us some kind of a grant, and Terry said, "Are you kidding? No way."
Terry Swear, can you talk about Nestle actually personally going after you?
My son and I both had some problems. There was a SLAPP suit against my son.
You're talking about a SLAPP suit, strategic lawsuit against public participation. That's SLAPP.
That is where, to put it very, very simply, it is where the company, Nestle, they wrote the letter to Michigan Citizens for Water Conservation's lawyer saying that my son, Chris, was not speaking nicely about Nestle. Surprise, surprise. And that they were going to do a SLAPP suit.
Did they send private investigators to your home?
We had these private investigators show up. And then we also had the FBI coming to our homes.
Glenda Manneke, did you have any family members or you yourself, were you approached by the FBI?
Well, this is hearsay from my family members, but there had been a small explosion or bomb or what was it set off at the wellhead. and they had decided that it was my uncle who had done it. And so the FBI came to his house to arrest him, and they found him in his wheelchair with neither one of his prostheses on. It was a highlight of his life.
So when we came into Flint a few nights ago, we went behind the municipal building and the National Guard was distributing water to people who drove up, and they gave us a case of Ice Mountain water. And Ice Mountain is made by Nestle, actually right down the road from here in Mecosta County. So you have a situation where the people of Flint, their water supply is poisoned, and they're now being donated or they have to buy bottled water. A lot of that is Nestle water. Nestle is a corporation overall. I think it posted $14 billion in profit in 2014. Can you talk about this connection?
I want to know why we don't have FEMA bringing in the tanker trucks that they, I'm sure, have available. Why aren't they taking the groundwater that Nestle is taking and providing it to the people in larger containers?
Well, it's interesting because we did see big FEMA pallets of water as well.
The National Guard is distributing small bottles of water. They are certainly capable of finding some trucks to bring in groundwater from endless aquifers here that Nestle is getting for free, and the people of Flint should get it for free too.
It's quite amazing. You have people having to pay for their poisoned water in Flint.
$140 a month, roughly.
Some of the highest rates in Michigan
Yes.
and in the country.
Yes.
And then you have but now, because under enormous pressure, the state government says they're not going to engage in cutoffs of water. But here you have Detroit, which actually has clean water. So the people in Flint, they will continue to get their poisoned water. But the people in Detroit who have clean water, they're having their water cut off.
Right. I call it criminal behavior. It's also, in my mind, it's environmental racism.
What do you mean by environmental
These are
racism?
cities that are predominantly African-American cities. These are the ones that have been taken over by emergency managers.
It's hard not to notice that the leadership of these organizations, whether in Detroit or dealing with the poisoned water in Flint to here, that you are women. What is it about you gals?
I have 2 sons, and I have 2 grandchildren. And that's who I work for. I mean, I do. I work for my children and my grandchildren. We're also very concerned about climate change. We're concerned about what kind of planet we're leaving for our children. I think women tend to maybe be a little closer to that feeling or that kind of passion. For me, it's a moral imperative. I have to leave something better than what I found, and we're having, as a species, a hard time doing that these days. So I have, I've been an activist all my life, pretty much.
Terry, as Peggy said, she was an activist all her life. You were shaking your head. You weren't?
I have never been involved in anything like what we're doing right now. And never thought I could do it. Never thought I would have to do it. But I agree with Peggy. You can see the lake that I live on. And one day, I just stood there and I looked. I have 5 grandchildren, 2 sons, 2 daughter-in-laws. And it's like, I cannot let this happen. I'm a 3rd generation who lives here. And this means so much to me that I could not just walk away from it.
That was Terry Swear, Peggy Case, and Glenna Manicky of Michigan Citizens for Water Conservation at Terry's home in Mecosta County, Michigan. That does it for our special Thirsty for Democracy, the Poisoning of an American City. If you want to get a copy, go to democracynow.org. And special thanks to Democracy Now's Laura Gottesdiener, Sam Alcoff, and Dennis Moynihan, and to Kate Levy and No Town, the movie. Happy birthday to Neil Shibata. Speaking of birthdays, February 19th, Friday, marks the 20th anniversary of Democracy Now's first broadcast. To help us celebrate, take a photo or a video. Tell us who you are, where you tune in, and why you need Democracy Now! And post it online with the hashtag